Hey there. If you've had a long day, you're in the right place. This is your quiet corner of the internet where nothing is expected of you except to rest. Tonight, I'll be reading you a long, winding Reddit story. It's full of emotions, secrets, and little twists, the kind of tale you can slowly drift off to. You don't need to keep track of every detail. Just let the words wash over you. Let your eyes get heavy, and before you know it, you'll be asleep. So tuck in, get comfortable, and let's begin. Am I the a-hole for exposing my cousin's secret at her wedding and causing a family implosion? I, 36F, come from a large, complicated, and frankly dysfunctional family, the kind where secrets fester just beneath the surface and everyone plays nice for holidays but talks behind each other's backs the second the door closes. I learned early that keeping quiet kept the peace, but recently I broke that unspoken rule, and now I'm being blamed for destroying everything, even though I wasn't the one who started the fire. I just stopped pretending it wasn't burning. My cousin Tara, 34F, and I used to be close, like sisters. Our mums are twins, and we grew up more like siblings than cousins. Sleepovers, vacations, hand-me-down fights, all of it. I was the shy, bookish one. She was bold, charming, and reckless. She was the kind of girl who made heads turn without trying and left chaos behind like a perfume trail. But I loved her. We understood each other in a way no one else in the family really could. Even when we took different paths, me to college and a stable job, her into a rotating carousel of jobs and partners, we still talked all the time, shared secrets, covered for each other. That loyalty was sacred. 4 years ago, Tara got engaged to a man named Sean, 35. On paper, Sean was perfect. Handsome, successful, polite to a fault. He worked in real estate and owned his own firm, wore designer suits to family dinners, and always brought a bottle of wine with a story behind it. My aunt and uncle practically worshipped him. They told everyone in the family that Tara was finally settling down, as if her previous flings and short-lived engagements had been some phase she was expected to outgrow. I'll admit, I liked Sean at first. He seemed grounded, kind, and devoted to her. But something about the way he looked at her never sat right with me. Not with affection, but with ownership. Like she was something he bought and was figuring out how to keep shiny. A few months after they got engaged, Tara and I had one of our infamous wine and confession nights at my apartment. She got tipsy, then quiet, then told me something that's haunted me ever since. She said she was still sleeping with her ex, Jessie, the one she'd been in an on-again, off-again mess with for nearly a decade. Jessie was everything Sean wasn't. Broke, impulsive, intense, and addictive. She said she didn't love Sean, not really. She loved the idea of what Sean gave her: security, respect, admiration from the family. But Jessie made her feel alive. She swore it would stop before the wedding, that she was just getting it out of her system, that Jessie knew it was temporary. It didn't stop. Over the next year, she told me, drunk texts, whispered calls, even during one of my birthday dinners, that it was still going on. Jessie was in town. Jessie stayed the night. Jessie had asked her to call off the wedding, but she said no. She wanted both worlds, the stability of Sean, the thrill of Jessie. I begged her to end it, told her she was playing with fire, but she laughed it, often said, "It's just sex. It doesn't mean anything." She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm not the first woman to cheat before a wedding. I'm just the only one honest about it." But she wasn't honest. Not with Sean. As the wedding date crept closer, my anxiety skyrocketed. I started avoiding her. I felt complicit, like if I kept her secret, I was just as guilty. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she'd stop. Maybe they'd be fine. Maybe this was some twisted last hurrah story they'd laugh about in 20 years. But every time I saw Sean gushing about her on social media, tagging her with captions, like my forever, I felt sick. And then, 3 weeks before the wedding, I saw something that shattered any illusions I had. I was at a cafe near my office when I saw Tara. She didn't see me. She was in a corner booth, pressed up against Jessie. They were kissing. Not a goodbye kiss. Not a "this is a mistake" kiss. A full-on, hungry, intimate kiss. I froze. It wasn't just the betrayal anymore. It was the public carelessness. Like she didn't even care if she got caught. Like Sean's love, his investment, the whole damn wedding was just a game she assumed she'd always win. That night, I confronted her. She was defensive at first, then furious. Said I was judging her, that I didn't understand, that she was handling it. She accused me of being jealous. That one stung. Then she said something I'll never forget. "If you love me, you'll keep your mouth shut. Don't ruin this for me." And just like that, she weaponized our bond. She turned my silence into a test of loyalty. I walked out. I didn't go to the rehearsal dinner. I didn't reply to her texts. But I still hadn't told anyone. Not yet. I wasn't sure I ever would. Until the night of the wedding. It was beautiful. Over the top, extravagant, exactly the kind of ceremony Tara always dreamed of. Designer dress, flower arches, live music. My family was all there, including our fragile, aging grandparents who kept whispering, "Finally, a real wedding." I sat in the second row, wearing a dress I hated, stomach in knots. I thought maybe I could survive the night. Fake a smile. Say nothing. Let her live her lie. Then Jessie showed up. Not in the pews. Not lurking outside. In the bridal suite. I only knew because I went looking for Tara when the ceremony was running 20 minutes late. I knocked on the door. No answer. When I walked in, I found them. Jessie had his hands on her waist. She was smoothing her makeup. He was whispering something in her ear, and she laughed. Something snapped in me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked out, grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, and walked straight up to Sean, who was pacing nervously by the altar. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "She's cheating on you. With Jessie. Right now." He blinked, confused. "What?" I said it louder. "Tara is cheating on you. She never stopped. She's with him right now in the bridal suite. I've known for months. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." The room went silent. Guests turned. My aunt gasped. My mother grabbed my arm. But I didn't back down. I told him everything, how long it had been going on, that she never stopped, that she laughed about it, that I was done keeping secrets. Sean didn't say a word. He walked out of the room, face white as a sheet. 5 minutes later, the wedding coordinator announced the ceremony was cancelled. Tara came downstairs in tears, surrounded by her bridesmaids, demanding to know what happened. I didn't speak to her. I just left. It's been 2 months since that night. The fallout has been nuclear. My aunt and uncle aren't speaking to me. Half the family blames me for ruining the wedding. They say I should have told her privately, that I embarrassed her, that I destroyed our family's reputation. My mom cried for a week and said I should have waited until after the honeymoon, because apparently timing is more important than truth. Tara sent me one text. "I hope you're happy." I didn't reply. Sean moved out of state. Last I heard, he's suing her for the cost of the wedding and cancelled their joint property deal. Jessie vanished. I assume he's back in whatever black hole he came from. But here's the thing. I don't regret it. I regret not doing it sooner. I regret letting guilt and family pressure silence me for so long. I regret trusting that love alone would make her stop. But telling the truth, pulling the pin on a lie that big, I'd do it again. Still, people keep telling me I was wrong, that I could have handled it better, that I should have let her face the consequences after the wedding, that I humiliated her. So I need to ask, am I the a-hole for exposing my cousin's affair on her wedding day and destroying my relationship with half my family? Am I the a-hole for exposing my sister's inheritance scam and tearing our entire family apart in the process? I, 38M, never imagined my family would be this broken. I used to think we were the kind of household that wasn't perfect but solid. Sunday, Dinners, birthdays with too many candles, laughter over old memories. My younger sister, Alina, 34F, and I were never especially close, but we were never enemies either. She was the golden child, pretty, charming, always the one with the excuses made for her. But I didn't mind it much growing up. I was more independent. She needed more help, more attention. At least, that's what my parents always said. My dad, who passed away 2 years ago, used to joke that Alina had champagne taste on a tap water budget. Everyone would laugh. I didn't. I just watched her rack up credit card debt, move in and out of bad relationships, bounce between jobs, always landing softly thanks to mum and dad's safety net. Meanwhile, I was working double shifts in college, saving every cent I could, building a life without expecting anything to be handed to me. Then Dad got sick. A fast-moving cancer that turned him from a strong, commanding presence into someone barely recognizable in just 9 months. It was brutal. I took unpaid leave from work to help Mum with his care. Alina came by maybe 3 times, each time with an excuse. Her car broke down. She couldn't get out of work. She was dealing with a mental health crisis. I didn't judge. Not then. I figured everyone grieves differently. Before Dad died, he pulled me aside for one last conversation. I remember it vividly. His hand was cold, his voice a raspy whisper. He told me, "There's a folder in the safe. After I'm gone, you and your mum open it. Make sure Alina doesn't talk you into anything before then. Protect what's yours." At the time, I didn't fully understand what he meant. I assumed it was something about his will, maybe funeral instructions, but that moment stayed lodged in my brain. He passed away 3 days later. At the reading of the will, it was just me, Mum, and Alina. The lawyer read everything plainly. The house would go to Mom. The remaining estate, roughly $700,000 from life insurance, retirement accounts, and liquidated assets, would be split evenly between me and Alina. 50-50. I was surprised. I thought Dad might have left more to Mom, or maybe held something back in trust, but it all seemed straightforward. Alina smiled like she won the lottery, but something didn't sit right. When we went back home, Mum and I opened the safe. Inside was the folder. It had 2 things, a handwritten letter and an old envelope from a separate lawyer's office, different from the one who read the will. The letter was from Dad, dated 6 months before he passed. It said that he'd made updates to his will because he no longer trusted Alina with large sums of money. She had borrowed nearly $100,000 from him over the years, most of which was never repaid, and had opened credit cards in his name. He forgave her, but he couldn't let her mismanage what was left of the family's legacy. He had amended the original will, removing Alina from the inheritance entirely, and instead leaving her a small trust of $25,000 to help with her debt. The rest, $675,000, was to go to me. The attached envelope contained notarized documents confirming the update and a receipt from the legal office where it was finalized. I was stunned. Mom was even more stunned. She had no idea. She cried for a long time, not because Alina was cut out, but because Dad never told her he was making such a drastic decision. I asked her why the will we'd heard at the lawyer's office didn't reflect these changes. She said she didn't know, but that Dad did everything himself. She wasn't involved in the paperwork. So I called the law office listed in the envelope. That's when the real shock hit. The paralegal confirmed that yes, my father had made those changes, and yes, they had sent him copies. But then, they said something that made my blood run cold. He came in again 3 weeks before his passing with his daughter Alina to undo the changes. I asked them to elaborate. They said Dad looked frail and didn't speak much, and that Alina handled most of the communication. He revoked the updated will and reverted it to the 50-50 split. I asked for the video surveillance from that day. I asked for signatures. I asked everything I could think of. Something was wrong. I brought this to my mother. She was horrified. said Dad wasn't lucid in those last weeks. He could barely walk, barely eat. There's no way he was of sound mind to make legal decisions. And then she remembered. Alina had taken him to a doctor's appointment the same week. She insisted she just wanted to help out, and she'd brought him back hours later, exhausted and barely conscious. Mom didn't question it then. Now it was all falling into place. I confronted Alina. She denied everything at first, acted confused, then indignant, claimed Dad changed his mind, that he realized it was wrong to punish her, that he wanted things fair in the end. But her voice cracked when I mentioned the surveillance footage. She got defensive, said I was trying to rob her, said Dad, I wouldn't want us fighting. Then she dropped the mask entirely. You've always been the favorite, she snapped. You think you deserve everything just because you followed the rules, because you were the good little son. He owed me. After everything, I lost it. I told her I was hiring a lawyer to contest the will, that I had written proof, video footage, and medical records showing Dad was not mentally competent in his final weeks. She threatened to go no contact. I said, please do. What followed was an ugly, months-long legal battle. The case made it clear my father was not of sound mind. The will had been changed under questionable circumstances. Alina had leveraged his deteriorating state to reverse a decision he'd already made. The judge ruled in my favor. The original amendment was upheld. I received the full inheritance, and her trust was locked behind debt repayment conditions. That should have been the end of it, but of course it wasn't. Alina ran a smear campaign, told the entire family I manipulated Dad in his final days, claimed I brainwashed Mum, that I tricked the court. Some relatives believed her. Others stayed silent. My uncle said I should have just split it anyway, that money wasn't worth all this. But none of them had lifted a finger to help when Dad was dying. None of them cleaned up after Alina's messes. None of them saw her for what she really was, someone who believes consequences are optional if you cry hard enough. Mum supported me. She said she felt guilty for ever enabling Alina, said Dad was right to change the will. She's the only one who stood by me through all of it. But the family isn't the same anymore. Holidays are awkward. Some cousins don't invite me to gatherings. Others send snide comments about blood money. Still, I sleep with a clear conscience. I honored my father's true wishes. I exposed a manipulative scheme. I stood up when no one else had the guts to. But sometimes, late at night, I ask myself, was there another way? Did I have to go nuclear? Could I have just let it go and split the inheritance for the sake of peace? So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for exposing my sister's inheritance scam, winning the court case, and tearing the family apart in the process? Am I the a-hole for getting my coworker fired, only to find out she was secretly married to my brother, and then cutting them both off forever? Let me start with the context. I, 35F, work in a very competitive field, project management at a top-tier architecture firm. I've been with the company for 8 years and climbed my way up the hard way. Extra hours, missed vacations, swallowing crap from difficult clients, dealing with sexist comments from older execs who assumed I was just someone's assistant. I earned my reputation, and I protect it like it's made of glass. I don't have kids. I've never been married. I've poured everything I have into my career, and for the most part, I've thrived. I'm respected. I get high-profile projects, and I'm in serious consideration for partner enter Sasha, 30F. Sasha joined the firm about a year ago as a junior PM. She was smart, charming, and eager to prove herself. We were assigned to work together on a huge corporate client account, multi-million-dollar renovation, tight deadlines, demanding stakeholders. I was supposed to mentor her. At first, I liked her. She was sharp and confident. She took notes, asked questions, and picked things up quickly. But there was something about her I couldn't quite put my finger on. A fake politeness, a slight over-eagerness to please the higher-ups. But I chalked it up to new hire nerves and kept things professional. Over the course of a few months, things started shifting. I began noticing that Sasha was taking credit for ideas I'd clearly outlined in meetings. At first it was subtle. She'd reword a suggestion I made and present it in front of our boss like it was hers. Then she started leaving me off email chains. She'd submit project updates with numbers that didn't match my spreadsheets. When I confronted her about it, she acted confused. "Oh, I thought you were copied." Or, "I must have attached the wrong doc." Sorry. I documented everything. I looped our boss into more emails. I started recording our Zoom meetings. I didn't want to escalate it yet, but I needed a paper trail. Then came the final straw. We were doing a massive pitch for a global retailer, a project I'd been working on for 6 months. I'd developed the design direction, coordinated with all departments, and crafted a killer presentation. The day before the pitch, Sasha asked if she could practice presenting a section. I said sure. I left the office early that night to attend a charity event my firm was sponsoring. The next morning, I walked into the pitch room and froze. The slides had been completely overhauled. My name was off the title page. Sasha was listed as the lead. She stood up and delivered the entire presentation as if she'd developed the entire vision. I was shell-shocked, too stunned to even speak in the moment. Our director praised her afterward for stepping up and said he was impressed by her initiative. I kept my face neutral. I didn't cause a scene. But that afternoon, I pulled HR into a meeting and laid it all out. Emails, files, call recordings, side-by-side slide comparisons with timestamps. It was undeniable. Sasha had deliberately stolen my work, cut me out of my own project, and misrepresented her role to leadership. HR launched an internal investigation. A week later, Sasha was fired. I thought that would be the end of it. But then, all hell broke loose. 2 days after she was let go, I got a message from my younger brother, Nathan, 33M. It just said, "We need to talk." I thought maybe he was checking in. He'd always been supportive of my career. We weren't super close, but we were solid. He'd just moved back to the city after working overseas for years. I hadn't even met the woman he was dating. He'd always been cagey about it. We met for lunch. He looked tired, pale, angry. Then he dropped the bomb. Sasha was his wife, not girlfriend, not fiancée, wife. They'd gotten married in secret almost 2 years, ago while living abroad. She kept her maiden name professionally and never talked about her job in detail. He didn't even know she worked for my company until she came home crying after getting fired. I thought he was joking. I laughed. He wasn't joking. Apparently, she'd kept her connection to me a secret because she wanted to earn my respect on her own. Nathan said she was devastated by what I did and that I went nuclear instead of giving her a chance to explain. He begged me to help get her reinstated. Said she made a mistake, but didn't deserve to lose everything. I stared at him like he'd grown a second head. She stole my work, sabotaged my project, lied to everyone, and he wanted me to undo the consequences. I told him no. He got cold. Accused me of being jealous. Said I'd never liked any woman who threatened my status. That I couldn't stand another woman shining. That I only went after Sasha because I saw her as competition. That was the moment I decided I was done. I stood up, paid for my coffee, and told him, "You made your choice. Don't call me again." Since then, everything's imploded. My mother called me in tears. My dad left me a voicemail calling me vindictive. Apparently, Sasha told them I manipulated HR to get her fired. She's painting herself as a victim. Nathan is going along with it. My parents have sided with them. They think I ruined a marriage out of spite. My aunt even sent me a message saying I'm becoming bitter and paranoid. Like I imagined the whole thing. I've gone no contact with all of them. I've kept my job. I've been offered the partnership. But now there's a bitter aftertaste to every win. I lost my brother. I lost my family. All because I refused to let someone steal my work, and because I refused to lie for her once the truth came out. But part of me wonders, should I have handled it differently? Should I have warned her before going to HR? Should I have let it slide, knowing what she meant to my brother? Would it have been better to swallow the injustice and avoid the explosion? So here I am. Reddit. Am I the a-hole for getting my coworker fired, only to find out she was secretly married to my brother and then cutting them both off completely? Am I the a-hole for cutting off my twin brother after he proposed to my ex-fiancée at my birthday party? I, 34, have always been incredibly close with my twin brother, Ryan. We were the textbook definition of inseparable growing up. Same friends, same classes, same sports teams, even dated girls in the same circles. People used to joke that we were one soul split into two bodies. We understood each other without words. We had each other's backs no matter what. At least, I thought we did. That all changed 2 years ago. Let me rewind a bit. I was engaged to a woman named Claire, 32F. Claire and I met at a charity event about 5 years ago. She was confident, elegant, brilliant. She was the first person I ever dated who didn't get intimidated by the twin thing. She had her own identity, her own success, and didn't care that Ryan and I were close. In fact, she was great with him at first. They got along well, joked like old friends, and I remember thinking how lucky I was that my two favourite people liked each other. Ryan was in a long-term relationship at the time with a woman named Brooke. They were together for 6 years, but the relationship was rocky. Constant fights, breakups, reconciliations. It always felt like they were either a week away from getting married or breaking up for good. Eventually, they split for the final time, and Ryan was devastated. He stayed with me and Claire for 2 months. She helped him find an apartment, cooked for him, listened to him vent. At the time, I was grateful. I thought she was being compassionate. I had no idea what was going on beneath the surface. Claire and I got engaged 3 years into our relationship. I proposed during a weekend trip to the mountains, just us, no spectacle, no audience. She cried, said yes, and for a while, I thought life was perfect. We started planning the wedding. We picked a venue, sent save the dates. Everything was on track. Then, 2 months before the wedding, Claire called it off. No explanation, no warning, signs. Just said she needed time and that she wasn't sure this was right. I was blindsided. I begged her to talk to me, go to therapy, anything. She refused, moved out of our apartment and ghosted me for weeks. I fell apart. Ryan was supportive at first, took me out drinking, stayed over, helped me move my stuff. But something about him seemed off, distant, guilty. I chalked it up to him still recovering from his own breakup. About 3 weeks after Claire left, I started noticing odd things. Mutual friends were being weird around me, like they wanted to say something but couldn't. I got the sense there was gossip floating just out of earshot. Eventually, my best friend Adam invited me over and said, "There's something you need to know." He showed me texts, screenshots. Claire had been sleeping with Ryan, not after the breakup, not after the engagement ended. During the engagement, it had been going on for months. While she was helping Ryan recover, they were hooking, up behind my back. My twin brother, the man who stood next to me on every milestone in my life, and the woman I planned to marry. I confronted them both. Claire didn't even try to deny it. She said, "We didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. We didn't want to hurt you." Ryan looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't plan this man, but I love her." I left. I didn't punch him, didn't scream. I walked away. I haven't spoken to either of them in 2 years. My parents begged me to reconsider. My mum said, "He's your brother." I said, "Exactly. He was my brother." My dad tried to play peacemaker. My sister took my side, but the family split right down the middle. Holidays became a nightmare. Over time, I built myself back up. I got a new apartment, threw myself into work, focused on therapy. I didn't date. I wasn't ready, but I was healing. Fast forward to 6 weeks ago. I was planning my birthday party, nothing major, just a casual backyard barbecue with close friends and some extended family. My sister helped organize it. I was very clear that Ryan and Claire were not invited. I hadn't seen either of them in years, and I wasn't going to start now. Day of the party comes. Everything's going great. Music, drinks, good food, laughter. I was actually happy. Genuinely happy for the first time in years. Until I walked out of the house and saw Claire and Ryan in my backyard. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. I looked at my sister and she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Turns out my mom invited them, without telling anyone. She thought enough time had passed and that this would be a good chance to mend things. I lost it. I walked up to them and said, "Get out." Ryan held up his hands and said, "Wait, just hear me out." Claire looked smug, like she knew something I didn't. Before I could say another word, Ryan dropped to one knee, right there, at my birthday party, with our friends and family watching. He pulled out a ring and said, "Claire, you've made me the happiest man alive. Will you marry me?" She said yes. The crowd was stunned. Some clapped, some stood there in shock. I stood frozen, absolutely numb. I walked back inside, locked the bathroom door, and sat on the floor for 10 minutes trying not to vomit. Eventually, I came back out and told everyone the party was over, told Ryan and Claire to get out. My mum begged me to just let them have this. I told her if she didn't leave with them, she wasn't welcome in my life either. They left. Half the guests followed. The rest stayed and awkwardly helped me clean up. Since then, my phone hasn't stopped blowing up. My mum called me heartless. My aunt said I was selfish. Even some friends said I should be over it by now. That love is messy. And I can't control who people fall for. But I don't think this is about love. It's about betrayal. It's about boundaries. It's about decency. I'm being told I ruined a beautiful moment. But to me, that proposal was the final knife twist on my birthday, in my house, after they both destroyed my life. So, am I the a-hole for cutting him off forever and kicking them out of my party? Edit FAQ. Why didn't I throw them out the moment I saw them? I was so shocked I genuinely froze. By the time I found words, he was already proposing. Did they know they weren't invited? Yes. I made that crystal clear. My mum took it upon herself to surprise me because she thought she was helping. Do I blame my mum? Yes. She violated a boundary I set. I'm not speaking to her right now either. Will I ever forgive them? I don't know. Right now it feels impossible. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my mum into my wedding after what she did to my fiancé years ago? I, 31M, recently got married to the love of my life, Jasmine, 30F. We've been together for almost 9 years, and our wedding just happened. A few weeks ago, it was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, and it was in many ways, but not for the reasons I expected. It ended with my mum in tears outside the venue, begging to be let in, while I told security to keep her out. And now half my family thinks I'm a monster. So here's everything. Jasmine, and I met in college. I was a senior, she was a junior. We met at a mutual friend's Halloween party. She was funny, sweet, and disarmingly intelligent. We bonded instantly and started dating a few weeks later. I fell hard for her, and fast. She was the first woman I could truly see a future with. But from the very beginning, my mother had a problem with her. At first, it was subtle. She's very pretty, but don't you think she's a little too confident? Or, it's nice that she works full-time, but is she really committed to building a family someday? Just constant little jabs wrapped in concern. My mum, Susan, 56F, has always had strong opinions. She's the type who thinks she knows what's best for everyone. She also had this deeply ingrained fantasy that I'd marry someone who was traditional, soft-spoken, and from a good family. Jasmine is biracial, black and Filipino, and comes from a working-class background. Her parents were immigrants. Her dad passed away when she was 12, and her mum raised 3 kids while juggling 2 jobs. Jasmine had to work part-time throughout college and graduated with honours despite it. My mum saw none of that. All she saw was someone who didn't fit in. After about 6 months of dating, I invited Jasmine home for Thanksgiving. She was nervous but excited. She brought wine, helped cook, and was polite to everyone. I thought it went well, until the car ride home, when Jasmine went completely silent. I asked what was wrong. She told me my mum pulled her aside in the kitchen and said, "You're not the type of girl I envisioned for my son. I hope this isn't just about money or a green card." I was livid. I confronted my mum the next day. She didn't deny it. She said, "I'm just trying to protect you. You don't know what women like that are capable of." "Women like what, Mom?" I went no contact with her for 6 months, but over time, she apologized. She wrote me this long dramatic letter, saying she was just scared of losing me and that Jasmine took her by surprise. Jasmine, being far more forgiving than I am, encouraged me to reconnect. So I did. Slowly, cautiously. Things seemed to improve for a while. My mum was polite to Jasmine, attended her birthday dinners, sent her Christmas cards. I thought we were okay, but I found out later that for years she was feeding my relatives lies, telling my aunts that Jasmine was manipulative, telling my cousins that she was aggressively ambitious and didn't respect traditional values. She even told my younger sister, 23F, that Jasmine slept her way through college, which is so laughably false it doesn't even deserve rebuttal. Jasmine never told me. She didn't want to cause drama, but I eventually overheard one of my cousins make a snide remark at a family BBQ, and the whole thing unraveled. When I confronted my mum, she denied it at first, then burst into tears and said, "I'm sorry, I was just afraid of being replaced." I told her that she had already been replaced, by her own actions. I didn't speak to her for almost a year. Jasmine and I got engaged about a year after that. I didn't plan to invite my mum to the wedding at all. But again, Jasmine asked me to reconsider. She said, "This is your mum. We don't have to be close, but maybe we can coexist peacefully." So I called my mum. I laid out boundaries. No drama, no unsolicited comments, and absolutely no insulting Jasmine in any form. She agreed. She sounded genuine. I wanted to believe her. I sent her a save the date. That was a mistake. Not even 2 weeks later, Jasmine's brother forwarded us screenshots from a group chat my mum was in with several extended family members. It included things like, "This wedding is a mistake. She's going to run his life and take all his money. Maybe someone should speak now instead of forever holding their peace." One of the cousins even joked about accidentally knocking over the cake. My mum replied, "Don't tempt me, LOL." That was it for me. I called her and told her she was not invited. She tried to play dumb. I told her I had the screenshots. She hung up on me. A week before the wedding, I received a handwritten letter in the mail. It was 4 pages of emotional manipulation. How she was scared. How Jasmine was dividing the family. How I was choosing a woman over blood. No apology, just guilt-tripping. I didn't respond. The day of the wedding arrived. It was perfect. Small outdoor venue, about 80 guests. Jasmine looked radiant. Everything went smoothly, until the reception. About 30 minutes into dinner, my sister came up to me, pale and shaking. She said, "Mum is outside, she's crying. She says she just wants to talk to you." I walked out to the front gate. Sure enough, there she was. Red-eyed, holding a card and a gift bag. She said, "Please don't do this. Let me be part of this day." I said, "You were part of this day. You chose how. You made that choice every time you disrespected the woman I love." She said, "I didn't think you'd really go through with banning me." I said, "I didn't think my mother would spend years trying to ruin my relationship." She asked if she could just come in quietly, not make a scene. I said, "You being here is a scene." She started sobbing, full-on, attention-grabbing sobs. I stayed calm. I told security not to let her in and walked away. I didn't look back. Now it's been a few weeks. The wedding photos are back. Jasmine and I are happy, but my extended family is divided. Some are furious I left my own mother crying outside her son's wedding. Others say I finally did what needed to be done. Jasmine has been supportive, but conflicted. She told me she appreciates me standing up for her, but also said she would have been okay with my mum quietly attending, as long as there was no drama. And honestly, part of me does feel guilty. I keep seeing that image of her crying. I know she's manipulative, but she's still my mum. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for not letting her in? Edit. Some common questions. Why didn't you go no contact earlier? Trauma, conditioning, obligation, fear. You don't undo decades of emotional programming overnight. Why not just let her come and ignore her? Because people like her don't stay quiet. If she had even shown the slightest humility in her apology attempts, maybe. But she showed zero signs of genuine remorse. Is there any chance of reconciliation? Right now? No, not unless she truly acknowledges the harm she's done and makes amends to Jasmine. Am I the a-hole for exposing my brother's secret at his wedding after years of keeping quiet to protect him? I, 36F, come from a very traditional, religious family. My parents raised us to value honesty, integrity, and especially loyalty to the family name. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. My brother Matt, 33M, is the golden child. Always was. My younger sisters, Rachel, 30F, and Anna, 28F, have always sort of drifted in my shadow, and we've all played our assigned roles in the family dynamic. But none of us were ever seen the way Matt was. He could do no wrong, and that favoritism set the stage for years of secrets, cover-ups, and emotional damage. When we were teenagers, Matt dated a girl named Lisa. She was sweet, smart, and honestly one of the only girls I ever saw bring out a softer, more mature side of him. But Matt, being 17 and stupid, cheated on her, repeatedly, with her best friend, and when Lisa found out and broke up with him, he denied it. He painted her as dramatic and controlling, and our parents believed him. Lisa became the crazy ex, and Matt walked away without a scratch. He laughed about it for months. I knew the truth, because he bragged to me about it behind closed doors. I was disgusted, but I said nothing. My parents made it clear. Family protects family. That pattern continued into adulthood. Matt got into a car accident in college. Drunk driving. He called me at 3 a.m. to help him cover it up. I drove 6 hours to pick him up, switched places so it looked like I was driving, since I hadn't been drinking, and got him off the hook. Again, I said nothing. My reward? Silence and shame. He never thanked me. He just expected it. When he got his first job, he lied on his resume. I helped him forge the reference letters. When he was accused of harassment by a coworker, something he called a joke gone too far, I convinced the girl not to escalate it. I bribed her with one of my own savings accounts. I didn't agree with what he did, but I had been conditioned. To protect him, I know what you're thinking. Why the hell did you keep covering for him? Because every time I tried to speak up, I was reminded that he was the future of this family, that I would destroy everything if I aired our dirty laundry. And for a while, I believed it. I wanted to be a good daughter. I didn't want to break my parents' hearts. I convinced myself I was doing the right thing, until he met Emily. Emily, 29F, is everything Matt isn't. She's warm, empathetic, principled. She's a school counselor, the kind of person who volunteers on weekends and sends thank you cards for everything. The first time I met her, I actually liked her. I saw the way she looked at Matt, like he was this incredible, grounded, loyal man. It made me feel physically sick. At first I thought maybe he'd changed. Maybe Emily made him better. But within 6 months, I knew better. He came to me, grinning, and said, "Can you believe she bought me an Apple Watch for our 6-month anniversary?" I was literally texting another girl while she handed it to me. He laughed like it was a joke. I just stared at him. I asked, "Are you cheating on her?" He said, "Define cheating." When I pressed him, he shrugged. "It's just fun. Doesn't mean anything. Emily's the one I'll marry." I begged him to stop. I told him he was playing with fire. He said I was just jealous, bitter, and too uptight to understand how relationships worked. Over the next 2 years, I watched him lie to her face, gaslight her, and manipulate every aspect of their relationship. He'd delete texts, sleep with women on business trips, and then come home and plan dates for Emily like nothing had happened. Once, I overheard a conversation where he said, "She's so innocent, it's hilarious. She actually thinks I'm a one-woman guy." I thought about telling her so many times, but then he proposed, and our parents threw the biggest engagement party you could imagine. They cried, hugged him, told him he was finally becoming the man they raised. Meanwhile, I stood in the corner, clutching a champagne flute and thinking, what the hell am I doing here? The breaking point came 2 months before the wedding. Emily called me one night in tears. She said Matt had been distant, moody, always hiding his phone. She asked me, "Is there something I don't know? Please, woman to woman." I almost told her. My mouth opened. But then I heard my mother's voice in my head saying, "You'll destroy everything if you ruin this wedding." So I said, "Maybe he's just stressed. Weddings are hard on everyone." That lie haunts me. Still. The week of the wedding, I found out Matt had slept with a bartender during his bachelor party in Vegas. He didn't even try to hide it. He called me and said, "Classic send-off, right? One last night of freedom." Something snapped in me. I didn't sleep for days. I kept picturing Emily in her white dress, smiling at this man who saw her as nothing more than a trophy. I remembered every girl he'd hurt, every secret I'd kept. Every time I sold a piece of my soul to protect someone who never once deserved it, I made a choice. At the wedding, I kept quiet through the ceremony. I didn't want to ruin it for Emily's family. But during the reception, when it came time for the toasts, I stood up. I was supposed to give a funny, sisterly speech. I walked up, took the mic, and looked directly at Emily. I said, "Emily, you are the kindest, most compassionate person I've ever met. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, and I don't think you've received that from my brother." There was a long silence. People laughed awkwardly. Matt stood up, face flushed, and hissed, "What the fucks are you doing?" I ignored him. I've kept his secrets for years. I've watched him cheat, lie, manipulate, and treat women like disposable toys. And I've kept quiet because I didn't want to ruin anything. But I realized the person I was protecting wasn't worth it. Not compared to you. The room was frozen. Emily looked pale. She whispered something to her maid of honor and walked out. Matt followed her, screaming at me as he passed. "You're dead to me." I said nothing. The reception ended early. Emily, left with her friends. The marriage was annulled within a week. My family exploded. My parents called me a traitor. Rachel and Anna are divided. Rachel says I did the right thing. Anna says I could have handled it privately. Matt blocked me on everything. My mother said I was spiteful and jealous of his happiness. I've since gone no contact with both my parents. Rachel checks in sometimes. Anna hasn't spoken to me in months. Emily, bless her, sent me a thank you letter. She said she was devastated, embarrassed, but grateful. She said, "I would have wasted years thinking I was crazy." She's since moved cities and is doing well, according to mutuals. So, am I the a-hole for finally telling the truth at the worst possible time? Edit. Some FAQs. Why didn't you warn Emily sooner? Honestly, I should have. I was scared, conditioned, torn between family loyalty and morality. I will always regret not telling her earlier. Couldn't you have told her privately? Yes, but by then, I knew Matt would find a way to spin it. He always had. I wanted it on record. I wanted him to feel the consequences publicly, the way others had suffered privately. Was this revenge? In part, yes. I won't lie. But more than revenge, it was release. I was done being his accomplice. Am I the a-hole for leaving my stepdaughter's wedding after being treated like a stranger? So, I, 47F, have been married to my husband, 52M, for 17 years. He has a daughter, Amanda, 25F, from his previous marriage. I met Amanda when she was around 8, and though she was initially hesitant, as most children are when a step-parent enters the picture, I've always tried to be a consistent, supportive presence in her life without overstepping my role. I never tried to replace her mother, who is alive and well and co-parented with my husband during Amanda's upbringing. But I did attend every parent-teacher meeting, every school play, every graduation, and made her birthday cakes every year. Her mother and I were cordial, but never close. Amanda was respectful, though not overly affectionate. I accepted that and didn't try to force a connection, but I always showed up. My husband and I have no other children, so I considered Amanda to be the closest thing I'd ever have to a daughter. Fast forward to last year, Amanda gets engaged. I was genuinely happy for her. Her fiancé, now husband, Mark, 28 seemed like a good guy. Amanda seemed over the moon. We congratulated her, offered to help with whatever she needed, and gave a generous early wedding gift, $5,000 to go toward either the wedding or honeymoon, their choice. She thanked us warmly and said she appreciated the support. Here's where things started to shift. As the planning progressed, I started noticing that while my husband was being consulted or included in various things, venue visits, tastings, suit fittings, I was not. Amanda would text him and ask if he wanted to come to a floral consultation or menu tasting, but I'd only find out after the fact, when he mentioned it in passing. When I gently asked if I could tag along sometime, he said, "Oh, I think Amanda's trying to keep things small with just immediate family." I found that odd because I live with her father. I helped raise her, and I thought I was part of the immediate family. Then came the bridal shower. I didn't receive an invitation. I assumed it was just a mistake. I reached out to Amanda and said, "Hey, sweetie, I didn't see an invite for the shower. Did it go out yet?" Her reply, "Oh, it's just a small thing with my mum's side. I figured it would be easier that way. Hope that's okay." I was hurt but didn't want to make a scene, so I said, "Of course. Hope you have a great time." Still, it stung. I started noticing that all the wedding communications went to my husband alone. The save the date listed him as John, father of the bride, and Linda, mother of the bride, invite you to the wedding of... I wasn't mentioned. That felt intentional. I asked John about it, and he just shrugged. "It's Amanda's day. She wants to do it her way. Don't take it personally." But I was taking it personally. I felt like I had been erased from the family for this one milestone, despite years of emotional labor and support. Then came the rehearsal dinner invite. My name was included, thankfully. I thought, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe she's just been overwhelmed. I dressed nicely, brought a thoughtful card and gift, and smiled through the small talk. At the dinner, her mother gave a long speech. Her father gave a shorter but emotional one. Amanda hugged them both. Then her mum stood and said, "We want to take a moment to thank everyone who made Amanda's life so beautiful. Her grandparents, her cousins, her teachers, and most importantly, her two loving parents." Everyone clapped. I sat there, a lump in my throat, unsure if I was supposed to feel invisible or just dramatic. No one acknowledged me. Not Amanda, not her mum, not her dad. I even caught a bridesmaid whispering to another, "I thought that was just her dad's wife, not really involved." That night I told my husband how I felt. He sighed and said, "This isn't about you. It's Amanda's wedding. Just let her have her moment." I said, "But after 17 years, how am I still not considered real family?" He didn't answer. Then came the wedding day. We arrived early. I was told I would be sitting in the second row, not the front. I asked one of the coordinators, and she said, "Mother of the bride and father in the front. You're listed as a guest of the father of the bride." That wording hit like a slap. I sat quietly, watching the ceremony. Amanda looked beautiful. Her mother beamed. Her father teared up. During the vows, Amanda said, "Thank you to my mum, who shaped me into the woman I am today, and to my dad, who has always supported me unconditionally. I love you both." Then she turned to the guests and said, "I'm so lucky to be surrounded by people who truly raised me and helped me grow." I felt like I was being gaslit. I was right there. Did I imagine the birthday cakes? The homework? Help? The tearful nights after teenage breakups? After the ceremony, there was a receiving line. Amanda greeted each guest warmly. When I approached, she smiled politely and said, "Thanks for coming," then moved to the next person. That was it. No hug. No "so glad you're here." Just a cold, blank smile. I was a stranger at my stepdaughter's wedding. I sat at the reception, trying not to cry. My husband was chatting with relatives, laughing like nothing was wrong. I stayed silent. Then the DJ announced the father-daughter dance. They danced to "Isn't She Lovely?" and everyone applauded. Amanda kissed her dad on the cheek and hugged her mum. Then she danced with her new husband. At no point did she acknowledge me. No toast, no mention, not even a smile. I was done. Quietly grabbed my clutch, walked out, called an Uber, and went home. Later that night, my husband came back livid. He said I had embarrassed him, that people were asking where I went, and that Amanda was hurt I didn't say goodbye. I lost it. I told him I had been treated like a seat filler, not family, and that if Amanda wanted to act like I didn't exist, I would happily return the favor. He called me selfish, petty, and dramatic. We haven't spoken much since. Amanda hasn't reached out at all. Now some of my friends are saying I should have stayed, if only to show grace and be the bigger person, that walking out of a wedding is never appropriate. But others say I had every right to leave if I felt disrespected. So, am I the a-hole? Edit, clarifications. I never referred to myself as Amanda's mom or tried to overstep boundaries. I always made sure she had her own relationship with her biological mother and encouraged their closeness. I never expected to walk her down the aisle, give a toast, or anything grand. I just expected basic human decency, a genuine thank you, a real hug, inclusion in the guest list as more than a footnote. The money we gifted was not conditional. I don't regret giving it because I wanted Amanda to have a beautiful wedding. I just didn't anticipate feeling so erased. As for my husband, we've had multiple discussions since. He insists I'm overly sensitive and that Amanda was just trying to keep things simple. I'm starting to see a larger pattern of emotional minimization that I might have ignored for years. Final update. Thank you to everyone who took the time to respond, whether you called me out or empathized. I've done a lot of thinking over the last few days. Amanda still hasn't reached out. My husband continues to insist I was in the wrong and should apologize. I won't. I've decided to take a break and stay with my sister for a while. I need time to think about what I want from this marriage. 17 years of loyalty and presence, and the one time I needed someone to stand up for me, I was told to get over it. I may not be Amanda's mother, but I'm still a person, and I won't sit silently while I'm treated like I don't matter. So no, I don't think I was the a-hole. I think I finally stood up for myself.